What's up, Leafs fans? Welcome to Leafs Digest. We got one more game left in preseason. The team has made its way down to 27 players left on this roster, looking like we have 6 cuts left to go before opening night roster is officially announced. We're only a few days away now from first night of regular season before we kick this one off after last year's disappointing end. Josh and I pumped out a whole bunch of videos over the summer recapping kind of what went down, what we thought was going to happen over this summer. So if you haven't checked those out, if you want to see how we reacted to Game 7 last year, Keefe, Dubas, and Shanahan's comments, make sure you go back and check out our old videos. They're all up there. We break down signings throughout this offseason, potential trades, how we thought the draft went. All those videos are up on our channel. And you know what? While you're browsing through our channel, while you're checking out all this content that you like, covering your favorite team or a team that you hate watch, because you know what? As much as we want Leafs fans following this channel, all hockey fans are welcome to be subscribed to this channel, and that is the most important thing here. Josh and I are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We are absolutely hustling our way there. We got numbers and things planned out the wazoo. We are absolutely battling to get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you're someone who's just watching this video casually, you're on your computer, the easiest thing for you to do is just click that subscribe button right now. That way you don't forget as you're on your way out of this video at the end. After you've thrown your like and your comment, subscribing may slip your mind, so you do it right now. But if you're not the type of person to want to do it right now, you keep watching this video, or maybe you're just on your phone, wait till the end. That is fine with us, but make sure the most important thing you can do right now is subscribe to this channel. Help Josh and I get to 1,000 subscribers. Support the Leafs Digest brand. Support the Digest brand in general. We appreciate every subscriber that comes in here. Love you guys. We thank you guys for doing that. Let's get into some Leafs talk here, Goody. So, last night I broke down kind of how we saw, or how we might have thought that this defense would shape up for opening night. We kind of talked about how the top 5 was pretty predictable in terms of who was going to be in that top 5. Maybe some guys will shake up and down in terms of what pairings they play on, what order that defense rolls out, but there wasn't much surprise. It was more debating who's that 6D spot. So again, if you want to see who you think or who I think will be in that 6D spot, watch last night's video. Kind of threw out some names. Timothy Liljegren, could Alex Biega get in there? Was Brennan Menell a guy worthy of that 6D spot? But that's not the topic of this video. Tonight, we're breaking down some of the forward positions. And honestly, it's, I think, one of the most important lines that we're going to debate up to this point, because the first line, in my opinion, is pretty much set at least to start the season. I can't guarantee, and I don't think you would put a guarantee on it, that Nick Ritchie is the guy who will be there on the last night of the regular season, or the guy who will be there heading into playoffs. We probably both think it's pretty likely. That's kind of where I'm at with it. But I think
who
for
even
opening
knows
night,
if Marner's going to be there? You know,
right? Exactly. There's some
questions.
things, but we know for opening night at least it will be Matthews Marner, and it'll probably be Nick Ritchie on that left wing. What's completely up in the air, and what we can't seem to get a read on based out of training camp, preseason, reports, the media, the team itself, is who's going to be on that second line left wing. The biggest changes we saw from this team in the offseason was the left wingers. There was a whole bunch of new names brought in, a whole bunch of guys that went out. So, Goody, there's 2 names really that kind of come up for this left wing position: Ilya Mikheyev and Michael Bunting. Throughout this preseason, I'll just go through these numbers real quick here. Both guys played 3 games. Michael Bunting, in his 3 games played with the Leafs this preseason, totaled 4 goals and 10 shots on goal. This is a guy with a $950,000 per year contract over the next 2 years. He's 6 foot, 185 pounds. He's a guy who doesn't have too much NHL experience, but he's a guy that was kind of brought in as someone who had a little bit of a flash in the pan in Arizona, showed some ability to score, and he showed that in the preseason. The guy he's trying to take that position from, or battling for that second line left wing position, is Ilya Mikheyev. And now throughout this preseason, he also played 3 games. He was 6'2", 192 pounds. He's on a $1.645 million AAV contract in his last year of this contract, looking to sign as a free agent in this offseason. And through his 3 games played in the preseason, he had 1 goal, 8 shots on goal. Who do you think was the more impressive player? And maybe even more specifically than that, beyond who's the more impressive player through this preseason, who's the guy who deserves that spot more so in your mind on that second line left wing?
I'm leaning towards it going over to not Mikheyev anymore, but to Bunting. And that's a weird thing to say, because I know Mikheyev had a really a really great comeback game, I guess you could say, last night or the night before.
Yeah.
Looked really good.
The thing though for saying it's a comeback game is because he
I
scored a
know.
goal. It's a guy who can't score goals. He scored the goal. It's just
Well,
funny
and
that
then
that's a
one of
term we
eight.
throw out at it.
Exactly. And then he's 1 of 8 on shots. So it's telling you, like, he's been struggling. He struggled last season,
Yeah.
comes in now struggling. But you remember when Mikheyev came here, right? We saw all the offensive stats. We knew he was a guy that if you gave him a big role, he could deliver.
Yes. Yeah.
We gave him the big role and he was delivering. We gave him benefit of the doubt right away. That's still pretty young of an age. Like, I think he was 24 when he first came to the team. Michael Bunting's going to come to the team at around the same age and with also some really good offensive upside and a smaller sample size. I think we need to give him the same benefit of the doubt. He's playing better right now. And so then just like prioritizing Mikheyev, who has proven worthless to your culture, like I'm just saying it as it is, like he's requesting trades kind of tongue in cheek. He
Mhm.
hasn't been delivering in the playoffs, seems to have attitude issues. It's just there's no real like added incentive to push him through this slump. And also, he's making a lot more as well. So maybe you put him on the second line to get up these numbers and move him. But in a true like situation where you're evaluating your team, I think Bunting goes in as the second line left winger. That's where I'm leaning right now. And just from the standpoint of benefit of the doubt, we gave it to Mikheyev. It's
Yeah.
time to give it to Bunting and let Mikheyev prove himself in the bottom six, where honestly his skill set's more tailored to.
Yeah. Okay. So my perspective on it, and I know this is such a cheap way out of answering the question because when I like look at the coaching staff and how they played these guys in the preseason and the opportunities they may give them, especially after what went on in the offseason where we heard that Mikheyev had asked for the trade and they see him in an important role here, it kind of to me seemed like they may have had an idea in mind that he could slide into that top six, at least at the time, because what they told him at the time clearly seemed to be at the end of the season prior to free agent signings, and specifically Michael Bunting signing, because once they got him, things may have changed. But this is where my cheesy cop-out answer kind of comes up. And it's that in terms of what the coaching staff is thinking, and if I were to give a prediction based on what I think they see, I think it's a complete 50-50 coin flip of which guy may be on that line opening night. Just in terms of predicting and being like, oh, based on this, I think that guy's going to be in there. I can't give an answer. I truthfully could not determine from that who's going to be the guy on opening night. I can't give that. Nick Ritchie, I am a guy that I'm like, yeah, I'm confident he's going to be on that line. But I just can't from the coaching staff or the management or media, anything, even practices. Because practices, there's reports. It's like Mikheyev skating with Tavares and Nylander. Next day, Bunting skating with Tavares and Nylander. It's like, okay, like how do we determine who's getting the more favorable reps here? I can't tell. But personally, who I want to or who I think will start on that, just based on belief of how things have gone, I think it's going to be Mikheyev.
What?
Yeah. Okay. So, but the thing is, though, I completely agree with you. And I think he's going to be on a short leash in that role. But I think they're going to give him the benefit of the doubt in terms of maybe you did just have a snake bitten year. It happens to players all the time in the NHL. And if you're a lower down guy and you get slotted into a third role, it's much more likely you could end up in a snake bitten year.
Yeah, but I think it says something about the accountability of that player to have a snake bitten year and then look inward at the team like, I need to change the scenery when you're still young. You're on a talent rich roster.
Perhaps though he wasn't necessarily thinking about change of scenery. Maybe he was more so thinking about like, I could have produced if I was on the second line, not on the third line. Which I know that's such a cheesy way to go about it from his perspective, and I don't agree with it. I think that's the wrong way to go about it because you have to produce in whatever role you're in and you have to prove you have to go up. But I think perhaps that coming out of that season, he was saying, I could have scored more goals if I was on that second line. I don't agree with that, but I'm just saying like that maybe that was his argument. Maybe that was his thought process on it.
Well, I mean, any player is going to score more goals playing up in the lineup. He's looking at this like Zack Hyman privilege where it's like you do so many things correctly that we'll just let you hang out with the top guns because we know you can do it at a bare minimum level and you'll do so many other things really well for us, even though Zack Hyman exceeded all those expectations last year. But I just don't think Mikheyev's earned that same benefit of the doubt. I think we gave him the benefit of the doubt a lot at different times to go and play up in that second line situation, and it didn't work out. So the move was justified. And I do think it is a real situation that we start with him there. But my hunch is still that we would do it to give him some trade value, because right now his value as an asset has never been lower. He looked really good coming out of the KHL. He had a great first season with Toronto. Then he's dropped off steadily ever since.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. If they give him another shot, I would hope it was just to get his trade value up, because I'm over Mikheyev. I'll give him the credit. He had a really great comeback game, but we shouldn't need to have comeback games in preseason for this guy who wants to play on our second line.
Yeah, I do have a couple points to it. Is like, I think that part of my justification for him starting on that second line is, he's been here. He's been with the team. And then that year that he did play with Tavares, he did seem to be able to score some goals before that injury happened. So we could see he could score a little bit. So he's been around the team. And then the second part of it would be, he's making $1.645 million. You'd like to have a guy making nearly $2 million playing ahead of your third line. Because in a team where you have such expensive contracts, to have a guy playing on the third line at 1.645, if he's being very effective, which I can get into after, but if he's being effective in all other aspects of the ice, you can chew it a little bit. You can say, okay, we can have that guy there because he provides so much value in other areas without scoring. We can allow him to be on the third line, or we can hope that he can continue to do what he's doing on the third line. But I think to start the year, you'd probably look at it like, all right, let's try you out there. Hopefully you can score. Hopefully you can make that 1.645 worthwhile on that second line. Give us some points. But I think he has, like, when I say extremely short leash, Josh, I like legitimately mean like less than 5 games in, if you're like 0 points, or if you're less than like 3 assists and that's it, done. Like, go, you're done. That's it. You're going to the third line and you're figuring out how to play there. I think it's going to be one of those things where it's like 5 games into the year, Mikheyev, you haven't done what you thought or you told us you can do. You're done. Like, your chance on the second line's over. You can't do it.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think that the short leash, you can't really go wrong. What if he does do really well and you still part with him and now you get more back for him? Yeah, I get it. It's one of those situations, especially when you've locked him up to contract, probably had private conversations with him where you've instilled some confidence in him, really want to keep him around because it's better than having internal drama in your in your locker room. Can't speak right now. But yeah, Mikheyev's putting me through the blender. I don't know what to do. I feel like a guy like Bunting coming in, he showed every good sign you could ask for. And to take him out of the top of the lineup where he's showing he can play, I just don't want it to even slow him down a little bit. I want him to keep riding this momentum and really become the player that I think he believes he is as well. And Mikheyev's done the opposite, where he's sort of showed us that if it doesn't work out for him, he's going to blame us. And there's a million different storylines that could go into that. That's a very broad and like angry fan way to look at it. But that's just what I'm getting from the inside out. That's all.
No, I agree. I think too, part of it though, with if you put Bunting on that third line, dude, I think this is going to be a hungry guy. I think this is a guy who, if he goes on that third line, even if Mikheyev is playing, let's just say okay, like he's playing average. He's on the second line and he's doing okay. And if Bunting goes in there, I think he's a guy who will be just ferocious on the third line. Like, give me that second line spot. Let me score 25 goals this season playing beside John Tavares and William Nylander. Give me that spot. Let me take that. And I think he'll prove that he deserves to be into that second line. And I kind of think that it's one of those situations where, like, I would like Mikheyev to stay around the team. Because I think that in terms of hockey all around, he does the right things. He does good things. When he's on the ice, he skates as hard as he can all the time. That's very evident. He works very hard. I've never looked at him and questioned his work ethic. Like, I've never looked at it like, oh, that guy's not trying. I would say, like, that's a guy who goes out there and gives it his all the time. And I'd like him to be able to stay around this team because he can provide like these positives in all these other areas that maybe you can't get out of certain guys, even just like disrupting plays and creating chances on penalty kills. Yeah, he doesn't score on them, but he creates the chance, which can drive momentum. But I think that even just to your point too, like this is a guy, and you talk about where it could go in the locker room. If he slides down to that third line and he doesn't embrace the role and he gets the woe is me attitude, I deserve more, get me out of here, then it's that trigger finger, like, all right, Dubas, make the move, get him gone. But until that point comes where it actually becomes an issue with him, I would like to keep him around this team.
Do you think that, I mean, given what we've learned about his mentality, that seeing Bunting start off on the second line, like I worry that that might actually just write him off mentally to the point where he hates our management.
Mikheyev?
Or yeah, Mikheyev.
Okay.
Or do you think Mikheyev's the kind of guy that would see that and be like, I got a fire under me right now. Like, I'm going to get right back to where that is and claim what's mine. To me,
I honestly can't tell you because this guy just seems so like mysterious.
Yeah, I kind of hate it, Phil. I kind of hate it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Obviously he's got upside. How would you rank him as a defensive forward? I think his speed makes up for a lot. I don't think he has great hockey IQ though, so I don't think he'll ever be a lockdown defensive forward. But yeah, his speed makes a big difference out there. Do you think his defensive upside makes enough of a difference to keep him maybe on that second line?
Oh, to keep him on the second line, no. No. To keep him on the team, yes.
Because the thing is, like, scoring less than 10 goals.
Yeah. No, not a chance. Because John Tavares is such a significantly hockey IQ gifted player. He's so defensively aware, so defensively responsible. And from what we've seen from William Nylander, he's proving to become more of a well-rounded hockey player. You don't need a guy like Ilya Mikheyev to provide you some defensive responsibility to bolster that line. I really just don't think so. Like, if you're looking at the Matthews-Marner line, especially like a year ago, if we were having like a similar conversation before the season, I might be like, yeah, maybe. Because that's kind of like where the Hyman aspect came in. Like, Zach Hyman was like, that's the defensive guy on the line. Like, Matthews and Marner have come into their own defensively to the point where, like, you're not bringing Nick Ritchie onto that line because he's some defensive presence. Like, he brings other aspects to that line now where defense isn't your concern. And I think you look at that second line, I don't know if the defense has ever really been a concern, and now even less so with William Nylander becoming a more well-rounded player.
I'm running out of reasons to like Mikheyev this year. I really am.
I just like, I wouldn't get rid of him from the team until it reaches a point of he can't be here anymore because he's so upset that he deserves more. I would keep him on the team, but to be honest, like, I think you and I are in the same opinion. Like, right now, as it is, I would start Bunting on the second line. I would want to start Bunting on the second line. Yeah. I just don't think that's how it's going to play out. Like, I would see
You're right.
I would just see it being like, okay, Mikheyev's going to get the shot. Give him his chance. You're going to give him an opportunity to play his way out of the second line role. That's really where I kind of see it going. I want Bunting in that second line. I almost just cheer for the guy too, right?
Yeah. You know what? When you put it like that, giving himself an opportunity to play his way out of it, because I would be pleasantly surprised if he didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
And so to at least give him that bare minimum, like, okay, you know what? If you blow us away and become a changed man and all these things, then go ahead and keep the spot that you want so bad. All right, if he goes out and proves it. But you know what? You actually are kind of bringing me to your way of thinking right now, because that's just easier to deal with from a personnel standpoint, sort of like breaking down the relationship of like, hey, okay, we did everything we could. We teed you up, short leash, you couldn't do it. You know, I actually kind of get that from an explaining yourself standpoint. Maybe I'm just feeling like we don't need to explain anything. We don't rock with him. He's gone. But in reality, it is a people's business too. And I don't know, you need to move this guy after as well. So to give him a little bit of second line opportunity where even if he comes up short, his numbers aren't like horrendous. There you go. Well, maybe you'll get a little bit more for him in a trade. I don't know what they're doing here. I think a lot of it will go down to how they know him on a personal level, whether or not they believe in him. I don't know. I'm trending towards they don't believe in him. But I think that's his own fault.
Which is kind of where this kind of becomes confusing, is because, not confusing, but like mysterious, as I used that word earlier, is with the Leafs, like, you get nothing out of them really. Like, they're so hush-hush and they keep it to themselves and they're so quiet. We have no idea what really could be going on in that line. They could have already made this complete determination that Mikheyev has played himself out of that line, and he doesn't deserve time in the regular season. Like, we'll know opening night kind of where they sit on that. But like,
would that be a Kyle Dubas? Do you think that would be? I think to let Mikheyev go back to the second line would be a really Dubas-esque move, if that's fair to say. I don't know. I feel like that wouldn't surprise me.
I think that's fair.
He seems like that kind of guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Give him a shot.
I can't really explain it. But that just seems like that would be the Dubas way to allow this one last chance here. Maybe it's just
also a guy who's in his last year of his contract too. right?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like, dude, you got 1 year here. We're not looking at you as
yeah.
like a 5-year player who's like, okay, let's figure this out. We got time left. It's like, your time is now. Let's figure this
Do it
out.
for
We're also
yourself.
trying to win do it for yourself. Do it for your own contract situation come this offseason. But also, like, completely selfishly as Leafs management, do it for us because we're trying to win a Stanley Cup right now. Like, we're not, oh, maybe we'll make the playoffs and we'll play well this year and then next year we'll go get them. It's like, no. Stanley Cup right now. This is what we're going for. You prove yourself. You prove your worth being here. Because yeah, there's some guys lower in the lineup who are more depth guys. I think guys looking on the outside in, potentially like Pierre Engvall, who I think is going to get waived. But regardless, like Adam Brooks, even kind of situation. Semyonov, who performed pretty well in the preseason. And then a guy who you said had a bad showing in the last game, which I agree with you. But he did play pretty well prior to that. And he's still rostered with this Leafs team as Amadio. Like, these are guys who are like fighting for those spots. And it's like, dude, if you don't want to be here and you're not producing, like, there's guys who are so hungry for an NHL job, you're gone. And that's it, because this is your last year and we're not going to deal with this. We want to win a cup right now. We don't owe you anything. Like, we gave you your shot in the NHL. You don't want to make the most of it. See you later.
Yeah, and guys like Brooks and Engvall specifically, every time you even give them a sniff, everyone's impressed. Like, they always meet the expectation or go a little bit above. And surprisingly, Engvall does do that. I don't know. Engvall is just one of those guys where I feel like he almost is just Mikheyev minus the speed. There's nothing too special there, really. But at the same time, he goes out there with an assignment, does it, picks up the occasional timely goal. And then Brooks is a really skilled player, actually. But again, just can't find ice in our lineup, which that's what happens when you're in contention mode. But that's also why we're allowed to look at guys like Mikheyev and say, you're not buying in. You're not doing us favors. Get out. And I don't want it to come to that, but I've felt myself inching closer towards that all along. But you've refreshed me with your view of give him the chance to lose it. And the reason I'm refreshed by it is because I think he'll fully lose it if we give him that chance. And that way we don't need to sit there and be like, oh, we had a gut feeling. Because think about it. Mikheyev could very well go to another team. And you know, we get what, like beans for him? Just nothing. Because he's at the lowest of his asset value. Guy could get like 17 or 18 goals on a really good team. Just because there's a change of scenery. He has like a few 50-50 pucks go in his way. It's not likely, but that's a situation that would just feel like really Leafs management to happen. And if it did happen,
or even just Leafs luck in general, like just,
I can't even like corner it to this management, just the Leafs franchise. Seems like that's the way it would transpire, almost like a Richard Panik situation. You remember what happened with that? Like that. So all of a sudden, that's what happens. At least you can say you gave him that go on the second line. He played 100%. Himself out. He wants to go play great somewhere else, whatever. It won't haunt us because we allowed him the opportunity. I like where you stand on that, actually.
So ultimately, I see a situation where this Leafs management is going to give Mikheyev the chance, as we've both said at points here, to play himself out of this top six, to play himself out of that second line. I think we're going to see Bunting in that second line throughout points of this season, whether it becomes permanent or whether they just give him shots or whether it's because of injuries. We are going to see him there. We're going to see him there at some points. My prediction for the opening night, I think Mikheyev will be in that spot. I don't know what the Leafs management kind of sits on this. I'm not saying this from a feel that I've gotten from them. More of just my own interpretation. And Josh, you want to give like kind of your recap on where you sit on this one?
Well, Philly, you've kind of brought me over to your way of thinking that he probably will get the opening night nod, but it's like a 5-game leash, like we said earlier.
I think it's so short, so small. Like that margin is just, dude, perform or you're done, because we're not in a time to mess around here. But yeah.
And I'm not going to lie too. I could see a weird situation though, where like, let's say Kyle Dubas secretly just hates Mikheyev. Like he can't stomach the way he's acting. And then they come out and like Mikheyev in the first 5 games has like 4 goals, like 3 assists, and then some other team out, like a St. Louis or someone gives like a really tempting trade package. I could see him just taking it, like actually right there, and then saying, I don't want the attitude, I don't want the volatility and how much he produces. Take him and leave. Like, so he could perform really bad or really good, and I could still see him moving on.
Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting way to look at it too, because I think that from this preseason, like compared to years past, when we looked at the preseason, we never really thought there was any depth or competition of who's going to be in the lineup. We kind of each year were like, this is the lineup, this is the lineup, this is the lineup. This is the first year I've really looked at it being like, wow, like Brooks, Robertson, Semyon Durargan-Chintsev, Amadio, Engvall, like these are guys, Semyonov, they could fight their way into a spot, and Curtis Gabriel could just grab some games here and there. And it's like, if you're looking at a situation where you got 6 or 7 guys who could slide into a spot, if you can get Mikheyev to some kind of high asset position and you are looking at an opportunity to improve your team via trade and you can replace him in-house, why wouldn't you do it? Maybe if you can take money off the books and you can move guys up who are hungry for positions. If you can move him to a different team, like you can bring in a defenseman to support this cast, I could see them doing it. I completely agree with you. I could see that. I hadn't even thought of that really, but
Philly, hear me out. Mikheyev, Travis Dermott, a draft pick for Robert Thomas.
I'm so 100% in. I mean, complete bias. I played minor hockey with Robert Thomas, and we both played minor lacrosse with him, so I would 100% do it. He's also a Stanley Cup champion, Memorial Cup champion, OHL champion, World Junior champion. Like, this guy's just a winner, so bring him here. But I just don't see St. Louis making that move. I can't see that being the case, but would love for it to happen. Leafs fans, we've gone on long enough debating this topic here. Bunting, Mikheyev, who slides into that top 6? Let us know in the comments. If you like this video, make sure you like this. Comment on this one. Go back and check out our other videos. We break down defensemen, how the Leafs play after each game. We do reactions, trade rumors, and all that talk, news, everything's there. We can find it on our channel. Like those videos, comment your thoughts, and then the most important thing you can do at this point, subscribe. Josh and I are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We are absolutely battling our way there. We're making our way there slowly but surely. So most important thing you can do as you leave this video, subscribe to this channel. Leafs fans, we will see you guys soon with another video in the near future. We are ramping up to our final preseason game in the first game of the 2021-2022 regular season. Leafs fans, we'll see you guys soon. Keep believing.
Signing off.